This week in the news, Source Engine 2 is out. Well, sort of. There's an update on Stop Killing Games, Nintendo patents get revoked, and more on this week's Old Man Rages at the News. Before we get into the content, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like and subscribe buttons. We're starting off this week with a closure. Rec Room will close on the 1st of June 2026. Now, for those unaware, Rec Room was a downgrade of VR chat. Yes, fight me. I don't care. This is the hill I'm dying. After all, Rec Room doesn't have a little red funny man asking you, "Do you know the way?" Anyways, in preparation for this shutdown, they are doing many things, including removing the ability to create accounts, add someone as friend, get their R+, which is a paid subscription, and other things. Now, this is a surprise though, especially if you consider, and as this Redditor points out, back in August 2025, they said they could continue to operate into 2029. I wonder what happened there. Anyways, Warhorse pulled a classic move and responded to the firing of the employee with a simple, "We won't talk about it." Now, the source is Kotaku, so take it with a grain of salt, but a spokesperson for Warhorse wrote an email, and I quote, "Warhorse Studios has always been a talent-driven studio, and we deeply value the people who shape our work. Out of respect for the privacy and dignity of both current and former colleagues, we will not discuss individual situations publicly." Dear Lord, they're not even trying to deny the use of AI translations. And on the other side of the coin, Konami yet again increased starting salary in Japan by nearly 30% for the 5th year in a row. The starting salary will be 310,000 yen, a 29% increase from 24,000 yen per month in February 2023. Now, to give you an idea how much of an increase that is, it's around 1,600 per month. Not bad. Now, in other news, Xcom art director says that PC genres went extinct because devs were, quote, enamored with consoles. But every genre is coming back now that everything plays well with controller. Now, to be more specific, what he said to PC Gamer is, and I quote, "Early on in the 2000s, we got enamored with consoles. I think certain games didn't make the leap right. The technology reasons, whatever it was, they couldn't make that conversion. A lot of tactics games you look at, they had an asymmetric sprite-based thing, and the way they delivered the content, it never embraced the camera as a tool. The explosion of turn-based tactics since 2012 is amazing. You see some things that are consistent and threads that go through them, but then you're also seeing things where people are really taking some innovative approaches and trying to really change it, and question some stuff and push the genre forward. Hopefully people are just going to say, a great game is a great game, and look at it from that perspective." Alright, short tangent time. I miss the old Command & Conquer days with my mates. You get together, bring in this ungodly large hunk of metal, plastic, glass, and normally you get help from a relative with a car because damn, those things were heavy. But you somehow manage, you get together, and you spend the entire night playing Command & Conquer. I really hope with the revitalization of every genre that this guy's talking about, we get some decent RTSs. You know, I kinda miss the old days where me and the mates can just gather around, play some RTS, shoot the shit. Ah well, time flies, but hopefully we get a decent RTS or two. Now, speaking of RTS, and something I thought was an April Fool's joke, but apparently it wasn't. Stormgate will lose its online features at the end of April, with an offline mode upcoming. This came from their Discord server, and apparently the server hosters Hathora got purchased by an AI company and are winding down their services at the end of April, causing any game hosted by Hathora to go offline. Stormgate will be patched, hopefully, to have an offline mode available, and the studio will try to find another suitable partner to host future online play. Now, full disclosure, I'm still shocked that the game is ongoing with how it burned the goodwill with any RTS enjoyer. But apparently some people liked it. Good on them. But, numbers speak for themselves, and you can never see it get more players than double digits. Especially with how they handled the campaign and the thing that really pissed me off. Locking co-op heroes behind a €10 paywall. Now, you might go like, but why is it bad? I mean, they need to make money. Well, the only character you can actually properly level up without spending any money is Blockade. And yes, the other characters are playable up until level 5. If you want to play more with them, aka unlock their full toolkit, pay over, Peggy. Then you just pray to God somebody doesn't have a bright idea to nerf the character, and you lose the €10 you paid. Hell, even StarCraft 2's co-op mode has more characters for free that, have different playstyles. And mind you, the reason why I'm bringing up StarCraft 2 is, Stormgate was developed by ex-Blizzard devs. You think they would take what worked in StarCraft 2 and improve it, and not flop on launch. And now for some good news. And what I can confirm is that this isn't April Fool's. Gary's Mod's successor, SN Box, will arrive on the 28th of April. Now, the reason why this is important is because it allows people to make user-generated content and export games to publish them on Steam. Now, the best part? It's royalty-free, meaning you are given the tools needed to make a standalone game, and the best part of the tools is it's using the Source 2 engine. And for those not in the know, that means you can get Valve-like quality out of the gate if you put in the effort. I can already hear Unreal and Epic screaming in the corner. Oh, it's beautiful. Can't wait to see what comes out of all of that. Now, one thing I didn't cover last week though is that Steam will add better conversion rates for developer prices. First, they updated their pricing conversion data to better reflect the current market and added 2 new methods. First is exchange rate conversion, which is simple, currency exchange rate. The second is purchasing power conversion. And as the name implies, it looks at the average purchasing power in a country and or region. The final method is the multivariable conversion. This method specifically uses multiple data sources for each currency, including the purchasing power, the expected cost of compatible entertainment goods, and exchange rate. So yeah, this basically combines the 2 previous methods with an added layer on top. Now, it's also worth noting that there is a 30-day cooldown period, so no need to keep your eyes glued to the screen or your phone to see if the price lowers. Man, when Valve do something and win, it's almost as if they thought of it in advance. Moving on, Capcom's original Resident Evil, Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, as well as Breath of Fire 4, are now available via Steam. Now, best part of this is the launch discount puts everything at around $5, and after the discount ends, it will be $10. Now, they also come with changes, but the list is way too big to cover. Now, the problem that all those games have is the third-party DRM called the Enigma Protector, which caused performance complaints for Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, thankfully those 4 games are not exactly what you'd call demanding, since, they're ancient just like me. But when you have an alternative like GOG, where you can get the games DRM free, choice kind of feels obvious here. There's also a new game launching from Capcom, Pragmata, with a launch date set for the 17th of April, alongside the Nouveau. And apparently it's officially gone gold, which I'm too old to understand what that means. And in classic internet fashion, going back 11 years, someone had the same thought as me and asked, what the hell is going gold? Basically, it means it's ready to ship. Well, the more you know. And now, for an update on Stop Killing Games. There will be a public hearing at the EU Parliament that is confirmed for the 16th of April. The initiative is also supported by Alderon Games, the makers of Path of Titans, as sponsors. Not only that, but UFC Q Chores, yeah, French name, I butchered it. What else is new? Well, what's new is they're suing Ubisoft for how they handled the crew with the support of Stop Killing Games. Q Chores argues the point that consumers weren't made aware of any expiration date and also want a court decision to question, does the purchase in material or dematerialized format of a video game allow players to claim at least the right of use totally independent of the sole will and authorization of the publisher? Jesus Christ. I hope all of this is correct cause I don't trust Google Translate that much these days. Regardless, and probably for more info on all of this, Cursed Farms made a video of this already, so if you want a bit more of an in-depth look into all of this, that's just going over there and watching his video. And in more happy news, the US Patent Office revoked Nintendo's patent on summoning characters to make them battle. Hell yeah, finally! Now, the sad part is that this isn't a final decision. Nintendo still has 2 months to respond or ask for an extension, and there can be an appeal made to the Federal Circuit if they don't agree with the decision. They're gonna do everything in their power to fuck over gaming here, aren't they? Moving on, Eidos Montreal cancels a game that's been in development for 7+ years. Which also apparently costed hundreds of millions. What a waste of money. For some context, Eidos Montreal laid off another 124 employees because, quote, result of changing project needs and impact across production and support teams. That, and alongside those layoffs, the studio head, David Anfosse, also left the company. Now, the 11th project of the studio, Windlands, is the reason why those employees were let go from the company. According to Inside Gaming sources, the game struggled for years for different game engines used throughout development, conflicting narrative directions, and a budget that got to several hundred million. The weird part about it is that according to Insider Gaming sources, the game was almost complete. It passed key milestones and it was in the debugging phase, with a planned release for later this year. How the hell are these guys not closed yet? Haven't made a decent game in who knows how long at this point. Jeez. In other news, the publisher Indie.io is launching a Game Pass style subscription for indie games. Now, you get 70 titles for $7 a month. Well, this is quite a big read, so as per usual, I'm just gonna cover what I find important. Now, with that out of the way, the plan is to go live on the 13th of April, and the idea behind this is to increase discovery for featuring titles and get revenue from back catalogs. The director of Growth, Jess Mitchell, also got pressed on how revenue is shared. And to quote the article, if a consumer is spending $6.99 per month and plays 2 games during this time, are the creators going to be given roughly $3.50 each, minus platform costs? And to quote specifically the director, yes, it's an egalitarian model. In the same way it is on a storefront. Where a consumer's money goes is where the developers are going to see it. Fancy words, I hate them. Now, the article also clearly states here that the platform will pay developers based on how much time each user spends playing their game. Alright, the cynic in me wants to see this as an incentive for indie devs to make idle games or, well, games that take a long time to grind. I'm just hoping that doesn't happen, since, I can already see how to cheese this system. But anyways, she is also confident that it will not damage the game's sales performance, but that remains to be seen. Looking also at their website, they state here that the Indie Pass will only be exclusively on PC, and it will include games that release at the same time on Steam or later in the life cycle. Alright, I hate to make this comparison, but that's Game Pass for indie devs, or smells a lot like it for sure. And now for something that smells like success. Shift Up bought Shinji Mikami's new studio. Now, for those not in the know or have me on a second monitor, that's the creator of Resident Evil. And the mad lad is also confident that his new game will be a masterpiece. Oh boy, that's bold. Hope it pays off. I mean, then again, Shift Up know what they're doing, so yeah. I'm gonna trust them on this one. Anyways, according to the post on Shift Up's website, Unbound, the studio that got bought, is developing an original PC and console-based IP targeting the global market. And the company plans to directly handle the publishing of Unbound's upcoming title and gradually build its own global service capabilities. Dear God, please buy Stellar Blade's publishing rights from Sony and start publishing it on your end. I don't give a damn if the Nuvo's in there. I'm gonna buy it just to piss off Sony. And in what feels like it should have happened a while ago, the FTC issues a warning to overzealous payment processors. Now, you might be wondering, especially if you've lived under a rock, why should we care? Is this gonna be some politics slop? Well, a while back, figuratively speaking, it was last year, or the start of this one, within the last year, let's say, the collective shit show called Collective Shout decided to piss on everybody's parade and started, going after game stores such as Steam and Humble Bundle. How did they do that? Well, through payment processors, of course. By spam flooding payment processors with, in the majority of cases, bogus reports that shouldn't even really have been looked at, in my opinion. They forced a lot of games off of storefronts. And this is where the FTC now comes into play. A bit late. Probably used Internet Explorer, but anyways, they've arrived at the party. As of the 26th of March, the Federal Trade Commission Chairman Andrew Ferguson sent a letter to the CEOs of PayPal, Stripe, Visa, and MasterCard. And the letter raises concerns about publicly reported examples of financial service companies denying their customers access to services due to their political or religious views. The letter warns the companies that any act or practice to deplatform customers or deny them access to financial products or services or to facilitate such conduct by other companies that is inconsistent with their terms of service or a customer's responsible expectations may violate the FTC Act and could lead to an FTC investigation and potential enforcement of actions. Now, so far this is only a verbal warning, and I fucking hope it's enough to get payment processors to stop acting like spoiled teenage girls that got butthurt after they asked someone out and they got rejected. But, I can only hope they get in line. I doubt it though. You know what? I have a better idea for anybody in the FTC. Investigate them regardless. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find all that you need to bring all of them, do I say it, Fuck it, I'll say it. You bring them on their knees. At this point, pretty sure anybody with a computer and internet access would be able to figure out what exactly is happening on PayPal, Visa, and MasterCards, and without even needing to access their files with internal documents. But anyways, that's me ranting. Speaking of ranting, and something that I thought was common sense, the Peak co-developer Landfall reminds impatient fans that it's not a live service studio. Yep. And apparently, in a next beef, because of course it has to be either X or Blue Sky these days, a rando called the Peak developers lazy. Now, bear in mind, this is not something I can confirm since the post got deleted, but apparently that got the attention of Landfall. They replied with, Peak has had so many updates though. Neither us or Aggro Crab are live service studios. Any update is a bonus, not a right. And as a reminder, these updates are free. You're not paying anything for them. Not only that, but people had issues with Landfall not announcing a new game. Practically the weirdest thing you can complain about in this day and age, but I mean, there are weirder things. And this post also got the attention of Landfall, where they admitted that they worked on something new for this year, but it didn't work out. Even admitting publicly they stretched themselves too thin, which is never good for either gamers or game developers. Especially not for game developers, since if they stretch themselves too thin, well, you get half-baked ideas, sloppy ports, and in general bad games, which then the players have to either endure because they thought, oh, this game is good, only find the controls being utter shit, or you have a game-breaking bug that locks you out of the game for some odd reason. But, you know, common sense is not so common anymore. Anyways, in other news, the developer of The Last of Us Online says the game was around 80% complete before its cancellation. Yeah, just a heads up, this is Kotaku writing, so I wonder what they have cooked up. Might be a good idea to keep the hazmat suit on hand for a bit. Vinit Agarwal, or however you pronounce that, the director of the project, let's put it like that, sat down for an interview with Lance E. Lee to talk about his life and career. When the topic of The Last of Us Online came up, the director revealed it was around 80% complete before it got canned. The director gave some insight into Sony's live service pivot, which was pushed around 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic as online games became a way for people to connect with friends during the quarantine. He even mentions how he found out about the cancellation 24 hours before it was to be announced to the public. Man, talk about a dick move from Sony. What am I surprised about? It's Sony. Anyways, remember the layoffs at Epic Games we talked about last week? You do? Perfect. It turns out one of those was a terminally ill employee who can't get life insurance. Yeah, apparently I somehow missed this, but to give you a quick TLDR, Jenny Griffin posted publicly that her husband Mike was recently laid off from Epic, who is currently fighting brain cancer. Since he got laid off, he lost his income and life insurance. Now, credit where credit's due, Tim Two Cent Sweeney replied to the public stating, and I quote, Epic is in contact with the family and will solve the insurance for them. There is high confidentiality around medical information, and it was not a factor in this layoff decision. Sorry to everyone for not recognizing this terribly painful situation and handling it in advance. Alright, as much as I like to dunk on Epic and Tim Sweeney, I have to admit here that if the company is solving the insurance for them, then that's a good thing in my book. But I still have this nagging feeling in the back of my head that he wouldn't have done anything if this didn't blow up in his face. There's no way to know that. It's just my tinfoil hat theory. And lastly, sticking to firings, the Mech Warrior dev Piranha Games fired a bunch of people. The former employees of the Canadian studio shared on LinkedIn, as you normally do, that they were affected. Those included people who worked on writing, FX, VFX, and for those not in the know, that's special effects and visual effects, environment and technical art, level designer, and software engineering. GameIndustry.biz tried reaching out for confirmation on numbers, but they didn't get any since they talked about the previous layoffs the studio had. Not exactly the win I wanted for the end of the week, but it is what it is. Hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoy the content. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time.